The autumn leaves danced across the pristine courtyard of Westmont University as 22-year-old Jin Park stepped through the grand iron gates for the first time. His worn canvas backpack hung loosely over his shoulder, and his simple white t-shirt and faded jeans stood in stark contrast to the designer outfits that adorned nearly every student passing by. He paused for a moment, taking in the towering Gothic buildings that seemed to touch the clouds, their stone facades whispering stories of privilege and legacy. Jin's hands were calloused, not from gym equipment or sports, but from years of discipline that most people couldn't fathom. Behind his gentle eyes and soft smile lay decades of training that had begun when he was barely old enough to walk. But today, none of that mattered. Today, he was just another freshman trying to find his place in a world that seemed designed to remind him he didn't belong. It started small, as cruelty often does. "Hey, look at this guy," sneered Marcus Thornton, the quarterback whose family name adorned one of the campus libraries. His voice carried across the cafeteria like a crack of thunder. "Did you get lost on your way to the thrift store?" Laughter erupted around him. Jin continued walking, his tray of simple rice and vegetables steady in his hands, his expression unchanged. He had learned long ago that true strength wasn't about responding to every provocation. It was about choosing your battles wisely. But Marcus saw Jin's silence as weakness, an invitation to push further. Over the following weeks, the harassment intensified. His books were knocked from his hands in hallways. Crude notes appeared on his dorm room door. During lectures, paper balls sailed toward the back of his head while whispers and snickers filled the air. Marcus and his group, wealthy, entitled, untouchable, made Jin their daily entertainment. "Why don't you fight back, scholarship boy?" Marcus would taunt, shoving Jin's shoulder in passing. "Oh wait, you probably don't even know how." Each time, Jin would simply meet his eyes with a calm that was almost unsettling, bow slightly, a gesture that seemed to infuriate Marcus even more, and walk away. The other students watched with a mixture of pity and confusion. Some whispered among themselves, "Why doesn't he stand up for himself? Why does he just take it?" But what they didn't understand was that Jin wasn't taking anything. He was choosing. Every morning at 4:30 a.m., while the campus slept under blankets of darkness, Jin would slip out of his dorm room. He discovered an abandoned gymnasium on the edge of campus, a relic from the university's earlier days, forgotten and unused. There, in the silence, broken only by his own breathing, he would practice. His movements were poetry written in motion, kicks that could split the air with a sound like thunder, strikes so precise they could stop a heartbeat or restart one, forms passed down through 15 generations of masters, each movement containing wisdom that books could never teach. His grandfather, Master Park Chun-Li, had been a legend in martial arts circles worldwide. Jin had trained under him since he could walk, spending his childhood in a mountain monastery where discipline was the first lesson and humility was the last, the one that took a lifetime to truly learn. The greatest warrior, his grandfather had told him countless times, is the one who never needs to fight. True mastery is not in defeating others, it's in having the strength to walk away, to protect rather than destroy, to be kind when the world expects you to be cruel. Those words echoed in Jin's mind every time Marcus pushed him, every time cruel laughter followed him down the hall. This was his real test, not of his physical abilities, but of his character. Sophia Martinez had noticed Jin from the beginning. A pre-med student with her own struggles, the first in her family to attend university, working 2 part-time jobs to supplement her scholarship, she recognized a kindred spirit in the quiet young man who seemed to carry the weight of the world with grace. She'd witnessed every incident, her heart breaking a little more each time. But more than the bullying, she noticed something else. The way Jin helped an elderly janitor carry heavy trash bags without being asked. How he'd spent his lunch money to buy food for a homeless veteran outside campus. The gentle way he'd rescued a bird with a broken wing, fashioning a tiny splint from popsicle sticks and caring for it in his dorm room until it could fly again. "He's different," she confided to her roommate one evening. "There's something about him, like he's carrying this incredible light inside, and all their darkness can't touch it." The spring festival arrived, transforming the campus into a celebration of light and music. The annual talent showcase was the centerpiece, a glamorous event where students displayed their abilities, where social hierarchies were reinforced or challenged, where reputations were made or destroyed. Marcus and his friends had been drinking, their cruelty emboldened by alcohol and the cheering crowd. When Jin passed by their table, carrying a donation box for the local children's hospital, something he de-organized himself, Marcus saw his opportunity for ultimate humiliation. "Ladies and gentlemen," Marcus announced, jumping onto a table, his voice amplified by the sudden silence of curious onlookers. "I'd like to invite our favorite punching bag, our dear friend Jin, to show us what he's got. Come on, scholarship boy, show us a trick." The crowd's energy shifted. Some laughed, but many grew uncomfortable, sensing that something was about to cross a line. Sophia stood from her seat, her hands clenched, ready to intervene. Jin stood still, the donation box in his hands, his eyes scanning the crowd. He saw the expectant faces, the smartphones already recording, the social media execution about to unfold. He thought of his grandfather, of the teachings, of the path he'd chosen. Then he saw something else, a group of children from the local orphanage who'd been invited to the festival. Their faces glowing with excitement. One little girl, maybe 7 years old, was watching him with wide eyes, not with pity, but with hope, as if she somehow sensed he was more than what everyone else saw. Marcus jumped down and shoved Jin hard, causing him to stumble. The donation box fell, coins scattering across the ground. "Oops," Marcus laughed. "Can't even stand up straight. What are you going to do about it, huh?" Time seemed to slow as Jin bent to pick up the scattered coins. In that moment, 3 of Marcus's friends, emboldened and reckless, rushed at Jin, simultaneously intending to tackle him, to finally break his spirit in front of everyone. What happened next would be replayed millions of times across social media, but no video could truly capture the artistry of it. Jin moved like water flowing around rocks. His body twisted with impossible grace, and suddenly one attacker was sailing through the air, landing safely but dramatically in the decorative fountain. A second found himself gently redirected into a table of desserts. The third stopped mid-charge, finding Jin's hand resting calmly on his shoulder. The pressure point applied with such precision that the attacker simply froze, unable to move but unharmed. Marcus rushed forward with a wild swing. Jin didn't block it, he barely seemed to move at all, simply shifting his weight slightly. Marcus's momentum carried him forward, and he found himself kneeling on the ground, his arm gently but immovably locked, Jin's hand supporting him so he wouldn't fall further. The entire sequence had taken perhaps 3 seconds. The crowd stood in absolute silence, phones still recording, minds struggling to process what they'd witnessed. It wasn't violent, it was beautiful, like watching a master conductor lead an orchestra, each movement purposeful and controlled. Jin released Marcus gently and stepped back. His voice, when he spoke, was quiet but carried across the stunned crowd. Violence is the weapon of the weak. True strength is choosing kindness, even when others choose cruelty. I didn't come here to fight. I came to learn, to grow, and to help others. That will never change. In the days that followed, the videos went viral not just locally, but globally. The humble master, they called him. News outlets picked up the story. But what made it truly special wasn't the display of martial arts, it was Jin's words. His restraint, his unwavering kindness despite everything. Marcus, to everyone's surprise, approached Jin 1 week later. His eyes were red, his pride shattered, but his humanity restored. "I'm sorry," he said simply. "I don't expect forgiveness, but I needed to say it. You could have hurt me, humiliated me like I tried to humiliate you, but you didn't. Why? Jin smiled, the same gentle smile he'd worn through all the harassment. Because hurt people hurt people. But healed people heal people. I saw your pain, Marcus, the pressure to maintain an image, the fear of not being enough. I've learned that everyone is fighting battles we can't see. Compassion costs nothing, but it can change everything. That conversation sparked something. Marcus began attending Jin's free self-defense and meditation classes sessions. Jin started offering to any student who wanted to learn not just martial arts, but mindfulness, respect, and self-control. Sophia became his closest friend and partner in expanding the program. The donation box that had fallen. It eventually raised $50,000 for the Children's Hospital, the viral attention bringing in donors from around the world. As Jin stood at graduation 2 years later, now surrounded by friends and respect, earned not through violence, but through unwavering character. He thought of his grandfather's words, "The greatest warrior is the one who never needs to fight." He'd proven it. Not just through that one moment at the festival, but through every choice to be kind, every decision to help rather than hurt. Every instance where he chose to see the humanity in others, even when they could unsee it in him. The little girl from the orphanage, now a student in his junior martial arts program, waved at him from the crowd. Her smile was radiant, unburdened by the hardships she faced, inspired by the lesson that strength and gentleness could coexist. Jin waved back, knowing that this was true mastery, not in the kicks that could shatter wood, or the strikes that could stop hearts, but in the gentle touch that could heal them. In a world that often celebrated aggression, he had shown that the real revolution was kindness. The real power was love. The real victory was lifting others up rather than knocking them down. And in that truth, he had found not just his place at the university, but his purpose in the world.